it's very important for entrepreneurs to be building relationships with potential investors way before they need the money. And I know sometimes that's counterintuitive because you think to yourself, well, I don't really want to ask, to meet somebody or ask for money until I actually need it. I want to try to build up the company. I want to be able to show off, what I've done before I actually show it to an investor. But in this case, when you're so early, it really does help us as investors to know how you're doing it and to kind of help you and watch you through the process.
Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedelec. Thank you for listening to the show. I would love if you could give us your opinion on how you felt about the show, your experience that you have in regards to what we've been talking about. I am having an absolute blast, but your input is like dynamite on that explosion. So give us your input. We'd love to hear from you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Give us everything you got. We love it. Thanks. I hope you're having an awesome day. Welcome to the Business Ownership Podcast, brought to you by Awareness Strategies, helping you navigate the waters between entrepreneurship and ownership. Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedelec, and I'm super glad that you are here today because I am here with my most amazing guest, Marcia. Marcia, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Well, thanks for having me.
So give everybody the highlight of who you are and what you do for business.
Sure. I'm Marcia Dawood. I'm an angel investor, a board member, and doing everything I possibly can in this world to help more female and entrepreneurs of color get access to capital.
Yeah. Okay, this is going to be a really fun talk. But before we get into it, how did you get into angel investing as your thing?
Yeah. Okay. So I got invited to an angel investing meeting in 2012. And I remember saying, what's angel investing? I have absolutely no idea. I thought maybe like people got together and picked stocks or something. I didn't know. So I went to the first meeting and I heard some entrepreneurs talking about the things that they were working on. And I was living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at the time. And I was fascinated at what was being discussed, the things that they were working on. I had been working in corporate America for a long time. So we kind of did the same thing, always expected different results. You know how that goes. And then one day I go to this meeting and I'm like, whoa, there's all this really cool innovation going on. And people are working on these like amazing ideas to change the world. I'm like, I have to learn more about this. So I started to go to more meetings, get more involved. Well, I quickly learned that less than 3% of venture capital dollars go to women, less than 1% go to people of color. And I'm like, wait a minute, women are like 50% of the population. Are you telling me they only have like 3% of the good ideas? I don't think so. So how do we change this? And I got the ability to move around the country quite a bit because of my husband's job and got to learn a lot about some different ecosystems, everything from Silicon Valley in New York to Pittsburgh, Dallas, and the middle of nowhere, Texas. So it was really an eye-opening and fascinating experience getting to meet so many different entrepreneurs working on the changes we want to see in the world.
Nice. I love it. And yes, the whole dynamics of, I guess, sociology and economics combined fascinates me as a topic of discussion, but that's not why we're here today. Maybe another day. But for now, talk to me about who you're helping now. Who is kind of your ideal client prospect, the kind of people that you want to work with, and what about them fascinates you?
Yeah, so I got to a point where I started going to meetings. I started to make a couple of small investments myself, but I'm only one person and I'm not like on Shark Tank. I'm not a billionaire flying in a private plane or anything like that. So I kind of got to a point where I was like, wait a minute, how come there aren't more people at these meetings? Or especially how come there are not more women at these meetings? One of the very first like summits or conferences that I went to that was around angel investing, there was a line at the men's room. So the amount of women that were there it was just so small. And I thought, this is not right. We're never going to get capital to women, people of color, unless we start getting people writing checks who look like them. That's kind of this whole boys club of like the white guys getting everything is just because that's who the investors are. So I started thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. I personally can't keep writing checks. I just don't have that kind of money. So what can I do in order to make it so that more people would want to do this? Well, I would talk to people and they would say, well, I didn't even know that was something I could do. I just thought you had to be rich. You had to have access. You had to be like, you had to know like Elon Musk in order to get into a deal, that kind of thing. And that's simply not true. There are so many changes that have happened, especially in the last 10 years. So I got the opportunity to be a member of the board of directors for the Angel Capital Association. So we're basically the national association for angel investors across the US. I then went on to chair the board and I started to just learn about all of the different ecosystems throughout the country and realized that there are so many people in every city and every town that could be helping entrepreneurs, but they have no idea that it's accessible to them. They think, oh, I really need to have like millions of dollars to be able to do that. And you just simply don't have to do that anymore. So in 2016, the Securities and Exchange Commission changed the rules, allowing anyone, well, pretty much anyone, you have to have internet access and you have to have some kind of a bank account or a credit card, but you can invest in an early stage company for as little as $50 through equity crowdfunding. And that was something that just opened up, the ability for anyone to be able to invest. So there's that. There are also ways that you can invest with philanthropic dollars. So sometimes if people make a donation or if they have a donor advised fund, which is basically a fund that you might put philanthropic dollars into so that it can be given to a charity down the road. Maybe you want to, schedule out your charitable giving. That money in the meantime can be used to invest in a startup company that's for profit. Now, the proceeds would never come back. Like, let's say I did that, it would never come back to me as a person, but it would come back to my fund. And then that could go to more charities. So the idea is that if we can help these for-profit companies in the meantime, we could actually generate even more dollars that could go to charities down the road.
Nice. I love it. My whole fascination with all of this started about 30 years ago, but most of it was in third world countries because that's where it was really easy to be able to make a difference, right? You donate $10 to this cause, 5 people do that. We got $50. We can buy a sewing machine. Somebody can start a business and start making money, and it changes the entire community. And it was a ton of fun. And that dynamic to me was paramount that it moves to North America, because there are so many, maybe we are going to go back to that socioeconomic thing where, $50 make a huge difference for somebody that just needs to, I just need something, this little piece of something, whether it's the software, the computer, the sewing machine, whatever it is, to be able to make the thing or get a hold of the right person. Sometimes there's not even money involved. It's just, I need the right person that knows how to get this deal done so that I can move forward on it.
Yes, that's exactly right. So you don't necessarily have to invest money. And sometimes people think investing like, oh, that seems like such a big thing. I have to know all the facts. I have to know everything. I have to be an expert investor before I could even dip my toe in the water. But there are so many different ways now that you're able to do that. And one of them, to your point, is about investing your time. So you could be helping an early stage company just by opening a door for them. If you know somebody or you have a connection, or maybe you could help them because you're really good at bookkeeping and they could use some help to just get started and get things put on the, on the right footing. All of those things could really help a startup. And that's a good way to get started and get to know what's even going on in your own backyard. I had no idea in 2012 how much innovation was happening right near me. And when I started to learn, I was just so fascinated. I just wanted to keep hearing about all of it.
Right. So peeps, if you're listening to this right now and you know somebody that needs this, or you have an idea, or somebody's been talking about something, write it in the chat, put it in the notes. We will start conversations with you, because I can't tell you how important I think this is. I mean, I love and admire entrepreneurs, will do everything to help. And sometimes people are just born into a situation where they know they can go after something and get it. The majority of people just aren't. And they need that little help. They need that little push to go, oh, you got an amazing idea. This could totally work.
Mm-hmm.
So nice.
And to that point, yeah. Michelle, we actually have, in a lot of cases, we're talking about scalable startup businesses. So we're talking about like tech and things that could like really scale and, make people a lot of money. However, there are more and more things to help Main Street small businesses nowadays. For example, on a platform called WeFunder, you can get involved with something called revenue-based financing. So let's say there's a coffee shop in your neighborhood or a dry cleaner, and you really want to help them out. They could put up a campaign, kind of like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, and they could raise some money just from their local community to be able to get off the ground and really help that business. And then you get paid back because you get a share in their revenue. So you don't actually have ownership into the company, but you're getting part of that so that you can really help that business get started. And if you have the patience to wait a little while they pay you back through their revenues, then you're really adding to the overall economic value of your entire community.
I love it. And I think right now this conversation is so important for people to understand what the difference between a chain is, what a private business is, what shopping local is. And a lot of people just simply don't understand kind of how that whole thing works.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when you're working with people, do you tend to go, are you still traveling around the country, going to the presentations? How are you getting kind of eyes and ears on the street?
Yeah, so I started getting more involved with kind of management of things. How do things work? How do funds work? A fund is when you can invest one time into somebody who's going to manage your money, and then they can invest in, let's say, 8 to 10 or even 12 startup companies. So you get that instant diversification, which I love because this is risky. It is a risky asset class. We have to be careful. We have to protect ourselves, and there's lots of ways that you can do that. But I got to a point where I thought, well, I just wish there were more people who were willing to be funders, and whether that was through money or their time or whatever, but that just really able to help start that. And if we can do that, then we can get more of these entrepreneurs that we get their businesses off the ground. So I started doing things like I ended up doing a TEDx talk at TEDx Charlotte in 2022. And I had people afterward that would say to me, "Oh, this is really interesting. I had no idea. I'm really inspired. Now what do I do?" And I was like, okay, well, it's so different for everybody. Even all the things that we've been talking about here, we're saying like, oh, you could do equity crowdfunding, or you could do investing with your philanthropic dollars. But, maybe it's like just a little bit different for some. Maybe some people want to join an angel group. So I decided I would write a book. This is the book right here, Do Good While Doing Well. That's coming out in September. And I just thought, how can we get more people to do this and get excited about it and get excited about the entrepreneurs that are in their local ecosystem? So how can we make it doable and not so daunting? So that's really been my focus, is trying to educate people on, hey, this actually could be for you. And I call the book Do Good While Doing Well because you can do good and help these companies, and maybe they're working on something that you really care about. Maybe it's something that has to do with the climate or healthcare or women's health, or healthcare for children. All of these things are like super important, and there's innovations that are happening all the time, but they're not getting funded. So they're kind of left on the cutting room floor, if so say. But what I'm trying to say is, hey, there are ways that we can get more people involved if they just knew about it. So how do we build that awareness? And that's really the point I'm at right now, because a lot of people aren't really talking about it. I felt like if we talk about it more, maybe we can get these entrepreneurs the help they need.
I love it because I really do think it's important. And I love the whole Shark Tank, Dragon's Den kind of approach to helping businesses. But I think there's really a position before that where people need the help. They need the ideas. They need the community to be able to work together to be able to create ideas. Like if you started a band, you're automatically, 8 of you are getting together on a Friday night. And then all of a sudden you got 6 bands and they're all jamming on. And why don't entrepreneurs get together and jam and understand how this process works, how to be able to break it down? Because so many people, like even on the invention side of things, there's such a huge cost to admission to be able to get the patents on things, to be able to go and understand what it takes to manufacture, to be able to get the 3D printing on things. And people are going like, I have a couple of $100, but I don't have a couple of 100,000 to kickstart this thing. How do we make it easier? It's not who's going to do it for me, but just how do we make it easier? Because there's a lot of passion behind it, and being able to, as long as you know you're going in the right direction, it makes it a lot easier to be able to fight a good fight.
Yes. And we don't want people to feel like, well, if I make an investment decision and it's I'm just looking at the financial side and it doesn't work out, then, I might look foolish to my family or friends or something like that. Like I'm trying to show like the whole picture. Like you can get these, emotional rewards as well as financial rewards by helping these various companies, especially in areas that you really care about.
Absolutely. Well, and two, I would recommend going on the philanthropy side of things and just, giving time, giving money, giving of yourself to understand how the process works if you're that new in it, so that you're not going, hey, is this going to turn into the next Apple stock?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
may or may not. We've all done that, been there, bought the dot bombs, and yeah, they went off. And to some extent, that's okay. When you understand why you're investing in the things that you're investing in is to help somebody grow and build and create that opportunity. Because a lot of times I've seen people that will invest in other entrepreneurs, and it might not have been that idea that came to fruition, but you follow that entrepreneur and all of a sudden you start to realize what amazing journeys they have. It's like, okay, this one's this one's going to make it work. And sometimes they need that support behind them to go, because maybe their spouse is kind of faltering on the fifth idea, but when you're there to go, yeah, I actually see that this is a great idea, this can be the thing. So to me, it's totally not just a transactional decision that you're contributing to society and want to make $1 back. There's a whole lot going on there and a whole lot of fun. Like the stories are awesome.
They are.
So in a moment, I'm going to ask you about a Cinderella story of one of your clients or experiences. But before we do that,
are you running a business over 7 figures but still struggling with technology headaches? Pay attention, you do not want to miss this offer. This podcast episode is brought to you by Awareness Strategies, who is offering a custom-built digital adoption roadmap for anyone running a business over 7 figures who's wanting to grow their business in the next 5 years. And it's not just a roadmap, they offer full implementation as well if that scares the out of you. Check out awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap for more details today. The link's in the show's notes. Don't regret not doing this. Do it now. That's awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap.
So I am super excited to hear about a Cinderella story about one of your clients.
Yeah. So one of the companies that we invested in a few years ago is making products specifically for women's health related to incontinence issues, which, that's another thing. We don't like talking about money. We don't necessarily like talking about investing. There can be all kinds of like shame or stigma around it. Well, we certainly don't like talking about incontinence or things that happen when women have babies and then they end up peeing in their pants, right? So this is something, again, that we need to just keep talking about. And this wonderful company, JoyLux, has made several different products, and now they are going into everything from pregnancy all the way through menopause and helping women with so many different issues, and as well as support and community. And they have just been doing amazing. They're over $10 million in sales. They've sold over 100,000 of their devices, and then they have a whole other line of products that go along with it. So they've been a real shining star, mainly because the CEO, who is female, she has just done amazing with keeping the investors informed about what's going on, but also letting people know that when she is in need of money, when she's fundraising again, she's always talking about it way before she actually needs it, which I find sometimes entrepreneurs, they get so caught up in running the business, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to run out of money. I can't make payroll, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, this huge problem. And what, as investors, we want to be able to help along the way, not get the phone call at 10 o'clock at night. Oh my gosh, I can't make payroll on Friday, right? And so Colette always lets us know what's happening, what's going on, and how can we support her and how can we support the business. And they have just recently they had like I guess an influencer, somebody who had a lot of followers on Instagram, had seen the product, tried it, loved it, and unbeknownst to them, posted about it, and over the weekend ended up with like $100,000 in sales. So, these are the things that, just are so cool to watch as an investor, considering we were in so early along the way, and we're just seeing like the growth and the success in an area that people aren't talking about and that women really need help with. And I feel like, especially in the last 5 years, we're talking a lot more about the things that we need to be talking about related to our health. When my mom was going through menopause, nobody was talking about it. I start going through it a couple years ago, and I'm like, okay, finally, people are starting to have these conversations. But even in the last couple of years, it's gotten so much better. And I'm just really excited to see what's going to happen even over the next few years.
Yes, I love it. So I want to get back to kind of understanding, how does an entrepreneur know when they should be approaching investors, asking for funding? What is it about their business that makes them more attractive? Like, how do they know that they're not just an entrepreneur doing the do? And yeah, it's all on you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. In fact, I'm going to give you a link. I wrote an article that was put in Fast Company, and we can put that in your show notes. It's very important for entrepreneurs to be building relationships with potential investors way before they need the money. And I know sometimes that's counterintuitive, because you think to yourself, well, I don't really want to ask, to meet somebody or ask for money until I actually need it. I want to try to build up the company. I want to be able to show off, what I've done before I actually show it to an investor. But in this case, when you're so early, it really does help us as investors to know how you're doing it and to kind of help you and watch you through the process. I've seen so many entrepreneurs be much more successful with fundraising if they start 6 months or even 12 months prior, just by talking to people and saying, hey, I'm not ready for funding now. That takes the pressure, off of the relationship, because an investor sometimes is like, oh dear, here we go. Like I'll get LinkedIn messages. It'll be like, hey, I need $50,000. And I'm like, this is not how this works, like, no, I'm not going to just write you a check for $50,000 because you think that I have some unlimited amount of cash, because that's not true, So if you build these relationships early, and the investor and the entrepreneur get to know each other, it's a little bit like dating. And then, like, once you're an investor, it's a little bit like marriage, they're not going anywhere. This isn't a liquid asset like a stock would be. You can't come in and out of it like an Apple stock and just sell it and buy it whenever you feel like it. You're in it for the long haul, and you're in it to help the company really grow. And so I think if we can get more people building those relationships early, then the entrepreneurs are going to be much more successful when it comes to actually asking for the check.
Nice. And are there any industries particular? Because I know SaaS industries are prolific in their fundraising, but I've seen even, food trucks and, startup restaurants, innovators, people who are inventing things. Like, can anybody go for angel investing, or is it just particular types of businesses?
It's mainly scalable businesses that we're looking for. We're looking for somewhere where, we're coming in early. It's a risky asset class. We need to diversify. So we need to invest in multiple businesses in order to be successful. So, probably something that wasn't as scalable. You could go back to what I said earlier about the revenue-based financing type thing, where those are the types of businesses that I would say should go to revenue-based financing if they're not as scalable. Angels are looking for something that could 10x their money, hoping that it'll probably be at maybe 3 or 5x, but they have to be able to see the vision that the market's big enough. There's not a ton of competition, or if there is, this particular company has such a unique offering that they're going to bypass all of the rest of the competition and really rise to the top. So some examples would be, tech companies are a good example. You mentioned SaaS earlier. So another company that we've worked with is also in the women's health space, and they have an app called Rosie, and that technology platform is something that's gaining a lot of traction, a lot of subscribers. They have monthly subscriptions. So that's something that's very scalable and can turn into much higher revenues that could then be sold to a bigger company. And that's when we say that we want to 10x our money. We want to 10x our money, not 10x the company. So it's not like we're saying, oh, you're going to go from $1,000 a month in revenue to 10,000 or $100,000 in revenue. No, we're saying, like, if we put in money, we want to see as a whole that all of that money could then become at least 10x in the future. So we're talking about companies that can get a very large market share, or at least enough of a market share that could allow them to have the types of revenues and profit that can make them very attractive to a bigger company to want to come along later on and buy them.
Well, and I know our peeps are going to want more from you. And peeps, as you're listening to this, I want you to recognize it's worth having the conversation to go, hey, this is what I'm doing. And does this make sense? Or might it make sense in the future? What do I have to put in place in order for it to become attractive? Again, always be willing to have those conversations well before you're prepared, and feel free to say, I don't know anything about this. I just heard this podcast and this sounds crazy to me. Can you tell me more? Those are always good conversations.
And for all the listeners, I would be willing to bet that in whatever town or city that you live in the country, there is a local angel group or some local angels. I would find them and try to see, just have a coffee meeting with them, get to know what's happening as far as funding in your own ecosystem, and they can help you. And if nothing else, save a ton of time. I see entrepreneurs too often that are just like, so they're all over the place and they're trying to build their business. They're trying to raise money. They're trying to do all these things. And if they just got some of the right advice along the way, they could save themselves a ton of time. So that's another thing that I'm pretty passionate about, is helping to make sure that entrepreneurs are not wasting their very, very precious time as they're building their company.
Nice. I love it. All right. So again, I know our peeps are going to want more from you. How did they start that journey with you?
Well, I do have a podcast. It's called The Angel Next Door, and I have a lot of episodes about everything that I just talked about, specific episodes on equity crowdfunding, for example, both from the funder side, but I've also had 2 entrepreneurs come on who have raised several $100,000 on equity crowdfunding platforms. So you can go and listen to that. I've also talked to several people about how they invested using philanthropic money through a donor advised fund. And so the donor then gets a tax deduction, but then, they can use that money to invest in a for-profit company. And that's something that also, maybe if the company isn't quite so scalable, that's okay, because this, money through the donor advised fund, through that revenue-based financing, can get paid back. And that would be another really excellent way for an entrepreneur to get some money. So there are lots of ways out there. So on the podcast, you're going to be able to get a lot of really great information. And then, of course, you can always go to my website, which is marciadawood.com.
And tell me more about the book. So, who's it for? When's it coming out? All that fun stuff.
Yeah, the book is for anyone who's wanted to make a difference and just wasn't really sure how one person alone could do that. I remember thinking to myself, well, I'd hear that phrase, be the change you want to see in the world. And I think, yes, I want to be a change. I want to make change. But wait a minute, I'm just one person, and I'm not a Shark Tank person or whatever. How am I going to be able to do that? So this book is for people who want to make a difference, aren't sure how one person alone could do that, but they really would love to learn how to invest in the changes that they want to see in the world, and how they can make their contribution, no matter how big or small, and make that meaningful.
I love it. We will, of course, have all of Marcia's links in the show notes. So go ahead and click on those links, open them up in a new browser, because we're not done yet. So Marcia, I get to ask you, at what point in life did you know you were especially kind of crazy enough to think that you could become an entrepreneur?
Oh dear. Yeah, I think it was when I went to that first meeting and I just saw these entrepreneurs, and I thought, that is just so incredibly cool that they were just willing to go out on that extra limb and do the extra things that need to be done. And sometimes when I think about the work I'm doing now and trying to, just bring awareness to this entire asset class and to all of the amazing things that entrepreneurs are out there doing, I just remember thinking, well, if I don't do it, who will? And I think if we all said that, why not me? Let's all do something to create change together.
I love it. Absolutely. You've been absolutely awesome. Any last words for our peeps?
Everyone should be the change that they want to see in the world, and there are ways to do it. And you don't have to know everything. You can actually get started really small and really easily, and you can kind of help all of the people that you want to along the way.
I love it. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and I know how valuable it is.
Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Peeps, this is Michelle Nedelec. Thank you for being here with us today. Be sure to subscribe to the show and share it with your friends. We love helping entrepreneurs grow.
Are you running a business over 7 figures but still struggling with technology headaches? Pay attention, you do not want to miss this offer. This podcast episode is brought to you by Awareness Strategies, who is offering a custom-built digital adoption roadmap for anyone running a business over 7 figures who's wanting to grow their business in the next 5 years. And it's not just a roadmap, they offer full implementation as well if that scares the out of you. Check out awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap for more details today. The link's in the show's notes. Don't regret not doing this. Do it now. That's awarenessstrategies.com/roadmap.